I mean, you had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are here in Granite Falls. We're ready to go. Without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C., a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Matty C., a.k.a. etc., etc., etc. And without further ado, from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Vold, the Shield. What's going on, Shield?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. It is Wednesday night. It is sunny. It is snowing. And $1,200 came in my bank account when I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning. I am doing fantastic. I am above the moon right now, and I'm excited for this show tonight.
And you can feel your arms.
Yes, very much so.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. So anyway, Voldy, we have our first official guest here on MinneZona Sports Live. Without further ado, we welcome our MinneZona Vikings insider, Mikey Ryan. Claps all around for Mikey Ryan on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes.
I've been watching since day one. I've been waiting to talk some Vikings with you guys. I'm excited. Let's get this going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I agree. Let's get this going. It's time for something called Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, guys. So we all know what's coming up here. We've teased it on our socials medias. There's been huge news coming out of the NFL. Okay, so according to a tweet and video and radio evidence here, per WFAN radio host Mark Malusis, he said a deal has been discussed between our own Minnesota Vikings and the Cleveland Browns for none other than Odell Beckham Jr. Okay, so here's what we got. Okay, this is a report now. Okay, this is a report. This isn't something they're in discussions and everything like that. Okay, according to this Mark, he's saying that the Vikings reportedly would only be giving up a second rounder of next year, 2021 now, and a fifth round draft picks in 2021 to Cleveland for Odell Beckham Jr. Now, this spread like wildfire. So we're going to start with Mikey. We got to ask him, Mikey, what's your reaction to the news and what do you think? Before we get to the easy question that we'll be asking, not only you and the Shield, but our zoners as well. We want you guys to chime in and we'll make sure we get to you. So, Mikey, do it up.
So for what the trade is right now for the second round of 2021, which I thought it was the second rounder of this year, from what I was hearing, and then a fifth rounder, we have to take him. That is one of the more easy trades you could make, as a GM. Spielman cannot give this up right now. If we can get him for that price, we essentially traded Stephon Diggs to Buffalo for a first rounder, and then got what I think is even a better receiver. Now, the whole thing with his personality, we'll bring that up a little later probably, but just from on the field, I think he's a better wide receiver than Stephon Diggs, and trading a second and a fifth is a steal. We would have to get him at that point. And if it happens for that, I'm perfectly okay with it. That would shore up one of our needs. And we could go on and sort everything else out, because if we got that done, that's one check mark off the box that we needed to get done this offseason, and we've upgraded immensely at that position if that happens.
100%. Just think Thielen, OBJ, Rudy, Irv Smith, BC Johnson. I mean, insane. I mean, and Kirk throwing the ball. I mean, this is lethal offense. And we if that were to happen, okay, we'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, it's something that it's almost too good to be true. And for me, at least, I thought it was kind of like that. It's like, okay, they're only giving that much up. Is there something going on? I mean, what's the deal here? So we're gonna move on to Shield. Shield, what are your thoughts?
If this trade were to go through, I think this would be one of the smarter decisions, because like Mikey did say as well, if you trade away Stephon Diggs and you go and get a guy for lesser draft picks than you gave up, that you got in return for your number one guy, and get a guy who is arguably one of the top five, not one of the top three receivers in the NFL, and you get a true down the field threat, I mean, this would be a no-brainer for the Vikings to make. It would be fantastic to see. The Vikings haven't had a true down the field threat. Sure, you got Adam Thielen who'll go down there once in a while, but you got to have speed, you got to have the reach, you got to have the swagger. And OBJ's got all three of those right there. And I think the Vikings most definitely need to make this move. If it's only going to cost you a couple draft picks for next year, but the fact that you've got, 2 first-round picks this year,
right.
I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't want to make this trade.
I mean, you can't ask for a better trade at this point. Now, the question is this legit? Now, I've been reading a lot of things here, okay? One reporter out of Cleveland.com, Mary Kay Cabot, says that calling the report false. Now, my next question, and I'm going to go to Mikey here, but do you think that this is too good to be true and this report is false?
When I first read it, I thought it was too good to be true. Like, yeah. I felt like kind of like what happened with Houston, them giving up Hopkins for such a little value in return. It's like I saw it. I'm like, there's no way this is happening. Like, where's the first round pick? Where's another player? But the question's got to be asked, like, is there something wrong with him fitting within Cleveland at this point? If the trade rumors happening with this little, like, amount of return for the Browns, or so, I mean, do I think it's like legit? Maybe not entirely, but I think the questions have been asked by both the Vikings and the Browns, and I think they're in talks. I don't know if it's going to be exactly that, but I think it's going to happen. Probably, like, most likely, because I don't think he's fitting very well with Baker, I believe, or
right.
something like I've heard like that. So I think they're just trying to ship him out at this point. And we said it before, and you got burned on this, Matt, from the Stephon Diggs debacle that happened. Like, we thought it was fake. We thought, like, I thought it, you thought it. I think 90% of Minnesota thought it was fake. That there's no way we're trading Stephon Diggs, but it happened. So we cannot rule this out yet. But I think it's going to happen. If it happens for that deal, like, I'm going to be the happiest Vikings fan I've been in a long time.
For sure. Well, I want to get to some zoners too, but basically it's half and half, guys. Like, right now with our zoners, I mean, this is great. I like seeing, I mean, everyone has, people are saying right now, Easy A right now, it's a toss-up. It really is a toss-up between, do we want them? Yeah, for me, I would. But, you know, we're going to get to that later. I want to save that for everybody. But I'm looking at our Twitter page here. So we asked the question, okay, Zoners, we got to know, will the Vikings pull the trigger on acquiring OBJ? And I tagged OBJ, by the way, so if he wanted to chime in. 68% of our Zoners say they want him, okay? 32% say, nah, get out of here. Now, I think people are leaning towards them doing this now. I think we got to remember, and I'm going to say this here too, okay? Obviously, when it comes to me saying someone will or won't be traded, it hasn't gone well so far for Matty C, okay? So we want to make sure that I'm watching what I'm saying here, okay? Would it be awesome to have OBJ? Yeah, because you know what? I think I've been looking into this more. OBJ really hasn't had structure, you know? And you know, as Voldy's trying to get away from OBJ there, it looks great. See, you're like a corner. You're like Richard Sherman trying to guard OBJ. You're trying to duck out of the way. But yeah, there you go. Kerf Doctor's making you work for it. Anyway, so but what my thing is that OBJ hasn't had structure. In New York, when Tom Coughlin left, there was, I mean, the Giants were. Organization was awful. I mean, you had Ben McAdoo, bleh, bad. He gets traded to the Browns. Remember when I say he got traded to the Browns? The Browns, okay? We're talking about a team that hasn't won anything in how long, right? So it's a place where Baker Mayfield is controversial. Yes, he's got Jarvis Landry with him, but what else does he have? A team that's not very good, okay? Does it make sense for the Vikings? Who's the head coach over there now, guys? Kevin Stefanski. I think we can't rule out that they have had discussions about this. I think they've had discussions about this. And it's something that we have to look at and say, okay, I'm sure they've had discussion, but again, they're really pushing the run game, though. That's what Zimmer wants. So we have to factor that in, too. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But if it were me, and I'm going to say this right now, and then I'm going to get to Voldy, okay? I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. will be coming to Minnesota, okay? I'm sorry to the Zoners who think that, but I can't see it happening. Okay? Yeah, we can move it. Go ahead. Yeah, that's right. But I just can't see this happen, my fellow Zoners, my fellow comrades, because there's bigger needs. There's bigger needs. O-line, okay? Corner, they need to do this, okay? So, Voldy, my question to you, do you think this is going to happen?
You know, the fact that you mentioned and said that it's not going to happen, and if we've learned anything from this show in the short time that we've been doing this, it's definitely going to happen. But right now, as it currently stands, with what is going on, the fact that the reports came out of New York and not Cleveland, or, you know, of course it came secondhand out of, you know, from KFAN, I don't see this happening. But if it does, fantastic. That would be amazing to see the likes of Odell Beckham Jr. in purple and white. It'd be fantastic to see him roaming the sidelines and making plays with Kirk Cousins. But as it currently stands right now, I don't see this happening.
Yeah. And I will add to this, too. If it happens and that's what they're giving up, you do it, no question.
Absolutely.
Jimbo's already said it in the chat here. You do it without question. You bring them here because you're not giving up much, and you go into the draft, and hey, look, you got 2 first-round picks still. You can trade back for it. I mean, Spielman is loving this right now, the speculation and everything like that. Now, if it's false, fine, it's false, whatever. But you know what? If it's true, and you know what? I'm doing a little reverse psychology here, Voldy, too, because if I say he won't and then he comes over, I mean, shoot, this will work out perfectly for me. So, you know, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, then I'm not going to be all up in arms about it like some, you know, other people, you know, because they're like, oh, you know, we're definitely, Odell's coming over. but it's kind of a 50-50. Oh, look, Mr. Absurd Statement himself. We do not need or want OBJ. Well, let's remember.
Listen up, everybody. Listen
Yeah.
up, or I'm cutting your ears off
Yeah,
with
listen up.
shears.
As Coach Hines is saying right
Listen
now,
up.
listen up. Okay? If they're only giving up a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick, you got to do it. You have to.
No question.
Oh, my gosh. And then this guy says that he'd rather have Treadwell over OBJ right now. That's absurd statement level right there. I'm just saying. So, but, Mikey, I got to ask you, though. Odell's done some antics in the past. Well, excuse me, not some, a lot. A lot of antics. Do you think that would be an issue? Do you think that would be an issue in the Vikings locker room?
I don't think it'd be an issue so much with the players. I think the big thing we're gonna have to talk about is the conflict between him and Zimmer's philosophy of he wants to be able to run the ball and play action pass off of the run.
Yeah.
OBJ, like, I believe he wants to be the center of the show all the time. It might just be because of he's had to do that because he's had so much dysfunction in the NFL. But I haven't seen anything that hasn't shown me otherwise right now. So I think that's the biggest thing right now. I think the players, they're not going to have a problem with them. I personally believe they won't. I think it's just going to be between Odell and Zimmer. And if they can somehow just find a way to communicate and like get over these issues and be like, hey, we're doing this to win. We're not doing this so that you can just stack up the numbers or that you can get some brand deal. And if they can figure that out, I think it's a perfect fit. If not, it could be bad. But like we said, if you're only giving up a second and a fifth, you have to take the shot no matter what issues there are at this point.
Right. So it's, we got the zoners chiming in. There's a lot of people that are for this. There's a lot of people that are not. Cole Munson saying right now, the problem isn't his talent, which is very true. But what happens when he doesn't get his 8 targets a game? Mm-hmm. Then you have Blake Hawker. You be ready to pass it to OBJ first, second, and third. Otherwise, that's kind of how it is. And then we got Mr. Absurd Statement, Will Glancy. No, I'm just kidding. OBJ contract versus drafting a fresh wide receiver in the first. I'll take the rookie who will learn from Thielen over OBJ and his kicking net. That's pretty good. That's actually not bad. I got to give Glance. But no, and Glance mentioned, too, Trent Williams, okay? I think that's definitely something that we have to look into because the O-line – like we've said, the O-line has been something that we got to, solidify. And you can do that in the draft. I mean, free agency is still going on. You can do that in trade. But I don't disagree with Glance on that. But I'm going to send the question over to you, Voldy. Do you think, in your opinion, do you think that if Odell and his antics, do you think it'll be a problem in the locker room?
I think that it could potentially be a problem if we've learned anything from Minnesota sports. Being a diva and trying to make yourself the center of attention doesn't exactly well in any sort of respect when it comes to Minnesota. But I feel like given the right personnel, sure, it was great right off the bat with Odell Beckham Jr. and, Baker Mayfield. When he first got to Cleveland, things were just clicking right away. Then you start to settle in and see how things were starting to go. You see from the ownership, from the coaching staff, everything with the media related as well. How come he's not getting the ball? Why am I not getting the ball? Things of that sort. Then you start to see that come through a little bit more and more towards the tail end of his tenure with the Giants as well for OBJ. Yeah. It could be an issue, and that could be the knock against OBJ. Fantastic player. Oh, yeah. He's got $1 million athletic ability with a 10-cent head. That's what I usually kind of sum it up to.
No, that was very good, Voldy. No, I agree. And the thing is if you guys are going to make the Vikings have to know that. They have to know what they're getting into. I mean, with Diggs, he didn't want to be here. Okay? We all know that. Now, OBJ, it's a different beast. Okay, you got to figure out a way where he gets along with everybody. He has structure. He doesn't have to worry about things going south and everything like that. So if they were to get OBJ, I'm sure they're going to have a plan. The Vikings organization knows how to handle this. And let's not forget, too, when they traded Diggs, they got a pretty doggone good deal. The Bills gave up a lot to get Stephon Diggs, okay? So a lot of zoners, Blake chimed in here again, and he was saying, draft the next OBJ instead of getting, OBJ himself. You can build that guy up. So we'll see, talent-wise. Hopefully not with OBJ's antics. But let's talk about how OBJ, Mad Eli, looked good, but he, Glancy kind of hit the nose on the head with that, too. So he's not walking Mr. Absurd Statement now. So, but one more thing, Mikey, I got to ask you since we don't have much time here, but it was great chatting OBJ, this Vikes stuff, rumors. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's so much fun. So, Mikey, what do you think the Vikings are going to go for the draft? 22-25.
With one of those two picks, we have to pick offensive line. We have to. For two players to look out for the zoners, I think there's going to be Josh Jones from Houston and Ezra Cleveland from Boise State. Ezra Cleveland's kind of rising up in the draft right now. He is, if you want to compare him to a player on the Vikings, he looks a lot like what Brian O'Neill looked like before, like when he was in during the draft. He reminds me a lot of him. He's very athletic. He fits the zone running scheme that we want perfectly. The only issues I kind of have with him is he played against decent competition, but if he was playing against a stronger opponent, he usually didn't defeat the bull rush very well. But other than that, I think you can build up that strength. The NFL workout system is perfect at doing that, and it's very hard to teach the intangibles that he has. And Josh Jones is a complete player, I think. Besides like the top three offensive line prospects from Alabama, Iowa, and Georgia, we're not going to get those, unfortunately. I would love any one of those, but we're not going to get them. So I think Josh Jones is going to be he's the surefire pick if we get him. With the second one, it kind of depends on also like the trading if we do that or if we do anything otherwise from that. But if we wanted to go wide receiver, which I don't think we will. I think we're going to go corner because it's the Zimmer way. They always pick the cornerback.
Yeah.
But if they went wide receiver in the first round, I think Justin Jefferson from LSU. I think he's the best pick. That he's projected to be around at that point, and he's kind of like he looks like Odell a little bit. I don't know talent wise. I'm not going to say talent wise, but I mean he did go. But he does look like him a little bit. He's the tall, lanky outside receiver that the Vikings need. We need another outside threat. But if we went corner, I'm looking at three guys because the draft is so wonky with how like players go. If there's like a hot streak, they could go right away. If there's a cold streak, we might get even a better player. But I'm looking at Christian Fulton out of LSU. Trevon Diggs, Stephon Diggs' brother from Alabama, or A.J. Terrell from Clemson. Either one of those players would be great. I think Trevon Diggs would be a little more of a project because he doesn't take man-to-man very well, but I think A.J. Terrell or Christian Fulton are going to be like surefire picks there.
Yeah, I think, you got to go younger at cornerback because I think that's what everyone's doing now. So now you got to, throw that into it. So. But anyway, Mikey, first of all, thank you so much for being – you're the first zoner on the zone. Okay? This is great. This is fantastic. And
fantastic.
Mikey, we'll try to get you on next week and talk more draft. This whole OBJ thing has just gotten just gotten so out of hand that we had to talk about it,
Oh, yeah, we did.
So, but we will talk more draft hopefully next week here, and we'll and you'll be tuning in. I know that for sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm there every time.
It. Yeah, we appreciate it, Mikey. We'll be talking to you soon, man.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
You bet. Anytime. So, anyway, zoners, we thank Mikey for coming on here. We got to move on to our next segment, and it's something called Infinity Rankings.
While many have power rankings, none have captured them all. It's time for Matty C's Infinity Rankings.
All right, so I got my fake gauntlet on. I don't know if it's kind of invisible. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about something a little different. Obviously people have been, indoors, with COVID going on and everything like that. Voldy, I don't, and by the way, to our zoners, I never show Voldy my rankings until now. So,
yeah, this is going to be a shock.
Right. So
this is going to be something.
These are my top indoor sports games to play. Okay. So we got 6 of them, obviously. 6 Stones, Infinity Gauntlet. You know the deal if you've watched Marvel. But this is something that I think is good to kind of, switch up about, with the indoors, stuff going on and whatnot. So here are my 6. Okay. So now, starting with 6, okay? So this is just mine. This isn't something that I'm just like, oh, this is the best one. This is what I think, okay? Number 6. Now, I was hoping to move that up a little bit, but one-handed dive football. If you've never played that, my younger sister and myself would always play that. My younger cousin as well. We would throw the football. We would dive on the couch, try to go one-handed, a.k.a. OBJ, things like that. Chris Carter, Randy Moss, we'd always scream, it's a fun game to just kind of, kill some time before, if you want, like if you're, before you go to eat or, things like that. Throw around the football. But the thing is we've broken a lot of things, even with a Nerf ball, okay? Now, you got to be careful with that. It gets a little dangerous with that. So I'm putting that at 6 because there's so many other games you can play inside that are pretty fun as well. So, all right, we're going to go to number 5. And Voldy, I think, will kind of like this. Sock baseball. Voldy, let me ask you, have you ever heard of sock baseball?
I have personally not heard of sock baseball. I've played a few different iterations of said kind of sport, maybe with a ball that was probably a lot harder than it was meant to be played with indoors, but there's been some sort of iteration with that growing up.
Sure. I'm sure you and DJ have some games that you played inside, and I'm sure there's been broken things, and Mama Vold hasn't been happy, or Jimbo as well. But anyway, we got zoners chiming in already. Exercise balls are fun to play with in basements, right, Dylan? Or Kerf Doctor? Yeah, see, he got you there. So anyway, number 5, sock baseball. Let me explain it a little bit, okay? So obviously, you roll up a pair of socks, okay? Pretty simple. It's your baseball, and then second, you have to, designate the bases and all that stuff. So you just got to set it up. For bases, you can find pillows and, anything you want, okay? Then the next thing is that you can only run on your knees or crawl, okay? What we usually did was knees because, it's kind of, it makes it a little tougher, and you got to have that amount of people too. So, Chell, don't forget virtual sports. I know that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that at some point. We'll do more rankings with that, Blake. Okay, but Chell is fun, by the way. But anyway, with sock baseball, you either go. I'm just looking at what I wrote down here from what I can remember, and my siblings can chime in here too if I'm forgetting anything. But so as a bat, you're using your own hand. Okay, you're using your own hand, and the thing is, the bigger the baseball, Voldy, the farther you can hit it. Okay.
Oh, of course.
So it was a fun game. Home runs were usually over the couch or something like that, or we'd set up some barriers or whatnot.
Right.
I made the Green Monster one time, Voldy. I think you'd appreciate that.
Awesome.
So, sock baseball. All right, so we're going to move on to number 4 on our list, arcade basketball. Okay, basically, if you ever go to an arcade, you see those 2 hoops, you go against one another. You go to Valley Fair, and they got it. But there's like the indoor ones. We used to have that back in West St. Paul, where I am from. And we would always shoot, always, compete with one another. I'd always try to, like, go over the thing and dunk it and whatnot. I mean, it's a fun game to play when you're not much going on, you're bored, and you're like, shoot some baskets and things like that. But arcade basketball is a fun game to do, and it's very easy. You don't have to, have much skill with it. You just, put up shots. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that much fun. And Voldy, I know you're lefty, so I know you'd be swishing.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Right? Making it hurt.
Yeah, there you go. Threes on threes on threes. So, speaking of threes, moving on to number 3, indoor mini golf. I used to have this, people would work on with putts and everything like that. My mom McCallahan, got me a nice, it's like a mini putting green. It was like a strip that you would use to putt in. And, sometimes I would, make it tough for myself to be like, okay, I'm going to put the ball over here. I'm going to, make it so, like, if I was actually golfing. But, obviously you're just putting. It's like indoor mini golf,
Right.
So we would make up, specific designs and things like that to make it hard. And, who doesn't love mini golf? The Kerf Doctor's a huge fan of mini golf, and I'm sure you are too, Shield. So
can't go wrong.
It's a good way to just kind of, do a little putt-putt. Who doesn't love playing mini golf? So that's my number 3 because, who doesn't love it? 2, this is kind of almost expected, okay? Ping pong or pong, okay? So if you have a ping pong table, I don't know, Voldy, have you had a ping pong table before or a zoner?
Not that I can remember,
Okay.
no, but definitely played a lot of ping pong growing up.
Yeah, more like indoor. Is this a sport?
Fantastic.
Gotta love Jeremiah Keene. Quoting Jeremiah Keene there. Shout out
Absolutely.
Jeremiah Keene. But yeah, it's a sport. Indoor, it's a sport.
It's a sport.
That's a sport. But anyway, ping pong, of course. I mean, so many people play ping pong. But if you don't have, ping pong ball table or anything like that, you can go, certain people's houses, stuff like that. But not under these conditions. But you can also play pong because I know a lot of you in your college days played beer pong, things like that. Okay, but we're gonna call it water pong because this is a PG show with a sprinkle of 13. But anyway, you can do fun trick shots off the wall. Like you could be shooting like Kobe, and things like that. So I mean, pong's another game you just fill a cup of water and trick shots, man. I mean, throw it behind your back, under the legs, shoot. It's fun for the whole family, I'd say. Now, I don't know. Have you done that, Voldy?
Yeah. I've definitely done it in my time. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I can definitely remember doing it a few times.
So, no, it's a fun game where you can just, just kill some time. It's kind of like, these are kind of like time killers and stuff like that. You just have fun with it. So, anyway, my number 1, and Voldy, you've already saw it, knee hockey. Okay?
Absolutely.
Knee hockey is one of my favorite indoor sports games. It is so much fun. Okay, I used to play it so many times with all my friends back at home and everything like that, and they can attest to it too. Yes, we got hurt a lot. We always check one another. We try to. There was a lot of sticks to the eye, bruises.
Oh
everywhere.
yeah.
I mean, it got brutal. It really got brutal. I mean, it was almost like MMA. I mean, it's UFC type stuff. But it's so much fun. But the worst part about knee hockey, Voldy, is your knees.
Oh,
obviously.
The rug burn. The rug burn was the worst.
Oh, the pain. The pain.
Hurts my knees just thinking about it.
But it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yes, absolutely.
And I played it with family members and everything like that. It's so much fun. And you know what? You don't have to, you don't have to put on skates or anything. Obviously you don't have to worry about that. You're on your knees and you're just, you can dangle, you can do, it's just so much fun. You can't go wrong with knee hockey. And if you guys think knee hockey's boring, well, you guys can get out. You know, this is
Exactly.
knee hockey, so much fun. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my sixth there, Voldy. What do you think?
I mean, the fact that you have knee hockey as number one, I've got no problems with that whatsoever. Looking at the initial
Yeah.
rankings, you know, they're all fantastic. I mean, they're all, of course, you know, designed to be, you know, time killers and everything. The amount of stories and the amount of things that are centered around knee hockey between me, my brother, some of his closest friends, some of my closest friends is, you know, there's a lot of them. The amount of wooden sticks and the little plastic ones that we had growing up, and the fact that we had them all stored in like a small garbage container in one of our living rooms. I mean, there were some games, and there were a lot of times where you'd be just drenched in sweat just from going so hard and just giving it all. I mean, those are top six perfect rankings right there.
Well, hey, I appreciate that. I mean, you know, it took a little bit because I'm trying to remember what I played back in the day, and it was so much fun. And, you know, it takes me back to those days. But, you know, now that I've gotten older, I don't think my knees could take it anymore, to be honest
Exactly,
with you.
me too.
It'd probably just give out on me and things like that. So, guys, what do you think? Zoners, chime in. Worst part of knee hockey is explaining the holes in the drywall to your parents.
Yes, true. Yes, fantastic. Love
Brilliant.
I don't know what I got here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Quickest way to lose your allowance. It is true. Yeah.
Very
you can really
true.
lose your allowance with that. We tried to do hockey fights too, and that didn't turn out well either. I don't think anyone broke a bone though, so there's that. So, Zoners, what do you think of the Infinity rankings? Chime in. What do you think? Bubble hockey. You know, Tyler, I did think about that, but it's very pricey. It is very pricey, depending on what you get. But I did think about bubble hockey is a big thing with people, and if you can head over to the Jimbo says or plants getting mangled.
That was from indoor dodgeball. That's a different story.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But yes.
But yes. But yeah, I know that's great. Bubble hockey, it's a little pricey, but if you can find something that's cheap and you can play with it, do it. You know, check it out. But that's honorable mention. So, yes. But anyway, that's it for Infinity Rankings. Voldy, it's time for one of our favorite segments, the Zoners' favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
All right. Well, another professional football league has decided to hold them and fold them. The XFL over this past weekend saying that they are ceasing operations after not even a full season, about 3/4 of a season, saying Friday morning that it told league officials and also laid off nearly all of its staff, besides a handful of some executive roles still opening, as this happened on Friday. Now, we learned early on Monday that the XFL is actually going to be selling off some of its stakes and even looking for new ownership as well. Of course, the group is owned by WWE CEO and President Vince McMahon and Alpha Entertainment, the company that he created to work with the XFL, looking for new ownership. And the fact that this is the second time in less than a year that a professional football league has gotten through part of a season and had to close up shop right then and there. The question is, absurd or approved, the fact that the XFL not fallen just for the first time, but the second time as well.
Well, they just ran into bad luck.
Yeah.
But, I'm wearing this Karl Anthony Towns jersey right now. But, Voldy, I gotta do something here that I wish I didn't have to do, okay? But I won't take it off. But R.I.P. Battlehawks. R.I.P. the Battlehawks. I don't know if it's going to come back, but I think it's absurd that it happened to them, you know? I mean, it's like this was getting good.
It was.
Yeah, it was really getting good, and I was enjoying it. The Battlehawks are awesome, and I just wanted to say that. But anyway, it was really doing well, And of course, you have a pandemic hit, and then it screws everything up. I called it that it would be that it would close a second time. Oh, no, yeah, but I mean, you can't plan for that. The second time, that's something no one saw coming at all. So again, you gotta look at it from this perspective. I mean, and then they have no plans to return in 2021. I mean, are they going to wait till 2022? It doesn't sound like it. So I just think it's absurd that it happened to them, but they have to do what they need to do at this point.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, that's kind of how it is. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I think this is pretty absurd to the fact that this is the second time you would have thought in 19 years since the first time the XFL was around that Vince McMahon and company would be able to figure it out, but apparently not. But there's a lot of good that could come out of this. Once the season did close up, a lot of these players that were making waves in the XFL ended up getting signed by NFL teams. PJ Walker, Jordan Tamu as well, just to name some of the big guys that were in the running for the XFL MVP award. And, even some of the rule changes to professional football that the XFL was going has caught the eye a little bit of the NFL, especially when it comes to the kickoff alignment and the 3-tiered extra point structure. Now, that would be something to see in the NFL. They want to make things more exciting.
Right.
But the fact that this is the second time that this hasn't worked out, I don't know if maybe Vince McMahon wasn't fully invested because he's got another billion-dollar operation going on that he should have walked out years ago. This is a whole different story that I could talk about for a few hours, and I'm sure a lot of our fans as well could talk about this. But if Vince McMahon would have been fully invested, I think, if he would have been right from the get-go, I'm stepping away from pro wrestling, I'm going to try and make this work again, I think it would have worked. But over 2 years of building up the XFL, I remember exactly where I was when they announced the XFL was coming back. I was sitting in my back corner office, and I say back corner, it was literally wall to wall to wall inside an old bank vault, basically, where my old office was, watching the live stream, Vince McMahon saying, all right, this is where we're going, XFL 2020. Not announcing the teams, not announcing who's going to be in charge. That came a whole year later, and then building up these teams. I was invested from day one of the XFL, and I thought this was going to be awesome. But the fact that this is the second time that this has happened, and the second league that has happened in less than a calendar year, is crazy. Now the next question is going to be, are we going to see this was the XFL Part 2, ESPN 30 for 30? That's got to happen.
Unless they start it back up. I don't know.
It's true.
Because I don't want to rule it out because it was doing really well, I felt, And then we got Nick chiming in here. They managed to get a lot of big-name coaches, too. They did.
Absolutely.
They did. And this was going really well. But pandemic hits.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing you can do about that. I don't know if maybe from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, from a fan standpoint, it was awesome. I looked forward to games Saturdays and Sundays. I mean, that was great to watch. A couple games Saturday, couple games Sunday. But from a financial standpoint, I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Maybe Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon had different insight to what we were seeing as a byproduct on the field. Got off to a bit of a rocky start, but in the last few games before everything shut down, I mean, there were some good games.
There was. There really was. And, WWE, we'll get into that later. But, I mean, Vince has got a lot on his plate now. So it's, it's kind of rough. But anyway, next one, Voldy.
Well, we get a little bit of some news with the newly rebranded Atlanta Falcons. They unveiled their uniforms. I believe it was last week when they did that. This one goes to one of their new players, Todd Gurley, who is taking a chapter out of a well-known, respected, not only NFL player, but also an Atlanta Falcon himself. Deion Sanders, primetime himself. Todd Gurley is going to be wearing number 21, the same number that the Atlanta Falcons gave to the likes of Deion Sanders when he first came into the league. And, well, there was a little bit of back and forth between the two players as, Deion Sanders did say, he tweeted out to the likes of, "Thank you for the love, but it ain't that deep to me. I was just joking with Todd Gurley III." And he was quoted as saying, "A number didn't make Prime. Prime made the number. # truth." But is it absurd or approved Todd Gurley wearing the number that primetime Deion Sanders wore with the Atlanta Falcons, wearing number 21?
Primetime was on a lot of teams, and he wore the number 21, right? And again, it's just a number, and for primetime, with the Falcons and everything like that, and then people like taking it out of context. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, he's wearing 21. He can't wear 21. This is absurd. Let him wear it. It's got my stamp of approval. I mean, in this instance, if it's like I was talking about KG we were talking about KG last week, and that's a guy that definitely has to have his number retired. No one can wear it, blah, blah, blah. Primetime was probably one of the best in the game. And he said he was just joking because he understands it. He really does understand what the deal is and everything like that. He's just joking around. And Primetime, ever since he's gotten out of the NFL, he's become more humble. He's a very nice guy. I mean, he knows his stuff, obviously. After every NFL Sunday, he's always got someone on. He's joking around with people. But, yeah, he's joking, guys. I mean, let Gurley wear the number. If Deion's fine with it and then Gurley's fine with it, then just let him wear it. But if it's such a big deal, then fine. Just switch it to 22, 23. But I just look at this and people are blowing this out of proportion. So let him wear the number. What do you think, Voldy?
I found this a little interesting as well. The fact that before this conversation even came up, cornerback Desmond Trufant wore the number 21 for the Falcons for the past 7 years. And this is the first we're even talking about it, because the fact that, obviously cornerback to cornerback, there's some respect right there. But I think if I was Todd Gurley, of course, you're coming from a bit of a sticky ending, a tough situation leaving Los Angeles last couple of years. I would try to build as much goodwill as possible. But again, NFL players, they don't know anything when it comes to goodwill. They're out just here trying to make money, trying to build up those stats, trying to make as much money as possible. But with Todd Gurley wearing number 21, I think it's a little absurd that he would go that route right off the bat. You're not going to build a lot of goodwill with the fans that way, because I'm sure there's a lot of them saying that, that's Primetime's number. Why isn't it retired yet? Things of that sort. But I think it's absurd, the fact that people are kind of blowing it up at the same time. I can see it from the standpoint, it's my number, don't touch it.
Sure.
Why not wear the number 30? He's been wearing it with the Rams, since he came into the league. Why not wear the number 33 or something if it was available? I'm not sure. But, Todd Gurley, number 21, it's going to be an adjustment. We'll see what happens.
Right. And, Todd Gurley, I think, the fact that Primetime said, I'm just joking around, just solidifies saying, like, okay, guys, calm down. Okay, we're fine. So, anyway, next one, Voldy.
All right, we got another one here for you, lining up a little bit of post-football adventures for Drew Brees. A couple years down the road, quite possibly, Drew Brees turned down an opportunity to take the Monday Night Football job with ESPN, only to turn around and sign a deal with NBC to be the analyst for Sunday Night Football if and when Drew Brees decides to hang them up. 41 years old, he's not announced his plans to retire, but he plans to play the 2020 season after signing that 2-year, $50 million contract with the New Orleans Saints. NBC did say that they would not confirm the agreement, but was later, of course, there were rumors flying around that he'd go to ESPN, take the Monday night job now that, Jason Witten is gone and everything with that related to that at the same time. But very interesting to see, is it absurd or approved? A little bit of a Sunday Night Breeze, as the lower third does say.
Well, people that know me, I'm not overly fond of Drew Brees. But I will say that ESPN whiffed again. I mean, Monday Night Football is in a place where it shouldn't be, because Monday Night Football with Tirico and Gruden was fantastic. They missed out on Brees. Okay, now I'm going to put the 2009 NFC Championship thing aside on this, because I think Drew Brees would be really good as a commentator. Okay, I know it's surprising to hear me say that, but it's true. I think he can be a really good analysis. And you know what happens with Collinsworth now? You know, that's something. You know, he's probably out. You know,
yeah. So they're definitely saying that he's going to get the pull if he doesn't. You know, leave. I mean, they're going to pull the plug on him pretty quick.
Right. And as Easy says, now here's a guy. You know, all the laughing. But he's gotten better. He's gotten better. You know, Jimbo says, "Bring back Booger." No. Even the curve. But anyway, I gotta say, I mean, they whiffed on it, but again, NBC, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's got my stamp of approval. With Drew Brees going to Sunday Night Football, it's something that it's tough to say, because I'm still sour about that 2009 game. But you know what, Drew Brees, I got to give him credit where credit's due. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Okay,
absolutely,
100%. And I think he will be fantastic on NBC. Now, does that mean Al's out now? I don't know. I'd rather
hope not.
I hope not. Pat McAfee from Mets here. Good to have you finally on here, Mets. Yeah, Pat McAfee, I think, would be fantastic for
hashtag McAfee for Monday Night Football.
Let's go.
Please make it happen.
All right, Voldy, what do you think?
It's got my stamp of approval. I like Drew Brees, the fact that he is a very well-spoken, well-thought-out. I immediately thought if it wasn't going to be the likes of Peyton Manning, it would be someone like Drew Brees to come up and, you know, take, one of these roles with Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football with NBC. You know, they are saying the likes that, of course, you're going to have to start grooming him a little bit for, you know, Sunday Night Football, but also work him in for college football. You know, NBC has the rights for Notre Dame. You know, right now they had a couple years ago they had the likes of Doug Flutie. Doug Flutie has been one of those in-game guys that's been the analyst. They had Mike Mayock for all those years. Now they've had, you know, Mike Tirico doing a little bit of games for them as well. I could see this happening. I would love to hear Drew Brees, him talking and breaking down the game, you know, from the quarterback's perspective. It'd be fantastic to see. And we'll just have to wait. I mean, is it going to be the full 2 years, or is he going to, you know, tear it up this year in 2020 and ride off into the sunset and, you know, maybe another Super Bowl? We'll have to wait and see, but it's got my stamp of approval.
Yeah, and again, you know, here's something where we're saying, you know, they missed out on it. And with ESPN, they missed out on getting them, and they tried to get Peyton Manning, and they whiffed on that. So, you know, Drew Brees is now with NBC. If he's anything like Romo, it'll be a huge win for NBC. But I don't know. I don't know if he can beat. Here we go, Jim. Is it?
Romo's a character. Yeah. Day one, fantastic. Great hire by
Stamp
CBS.
of approval. Stamp of approval with
yes.
Tony Romo, for sure. So, anyway, next one, Voldy.
Well, on Monday, we go to the likes of professional wrestling to talk about essential business.
Yep.
The state of Florida and Orange County Mayor Jerry Deming said in a Monday press conference that they are allowing World Wrestling Entertainment, which has a good portion of their, you know, of their people in the state of Florida, most specifically in their Orlando Performance Training Center, to resume live television shows from its training facility and at Full Sail University in Winter Park. The decision was made on April 9th, but was announced on Monday, deeming that they are part of an essential business, thus creating, you know, the possible leeway to bring more sports back into active roles as well. They did deem them on a list of essential services where employees at professional sports and media production with a national audience, including athletes, entertainers, production team, executive team, media team, and any others necessary to facilitate, including services of supporting such production, only if the location is closed to the general public. So basically, anybody involved, minus the fans, is part of essential service. My question to you, absurd or approved, the fact that WWE could quite possibly be the catalyst to kick off sports with it being an essential business?
It's a lot to take in. For one, I mean, this is the one type of thing. It's more entertainment, obviously, WWE.
Right.
But I mean, you have to be in really good shape. I mean, you're going up against you're taking bumps and things like that. As Nick's saying right here, if Vince McMahon loses WWE and XFL, he might keel over.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. That's going to happen.
Well, let's remember, too, there was news that they let go of some superstars today.
Whole bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, they got rid of Kurt Angle, who's a legend.
Right.
They got rid of Rusev. He's a big name there. Heath Slater. I mean, the list goes on. But making it essential, I think it helps them better. And, I think it's at this point, it could jumpstart, baseball. I know baseball is still in the early stages from what I understand, places in Arizona. And I'm here in Florida now, too. So I think we got to look at this and say, okay, if they're starting that up and they're essential, then what does that say to the next, sports? Now, Fauci said, that's his name, right? Yeah. He was saying that sports can continue, but without fans, which would be kind of stink. But again, it's something to look forward to, I mean, take the right avenues to make sure no one's infected and everything like that. So the WWE, I assume, has been testing people and everything like that. They're taking every precaution and everything. And they're doing live shows now. So, yeah, I think it's got my stamp of approval because this is something positive for people, especially for bigger wrestling fans. And I used to be a big wrestling fan, and it's something to look forward to for a lot of people. And, yeah, I check in here and there, but, it's something to where golf should be going then. Because, I mean, you're away from people, besides maybe your caddy. But, for people that want to go out in public, go to a public course and shoot. I mean, let's get this done. So, I don't know. Voldy, what do you think?
I think when you look at it as a whole,
okay,
I think this has got my stamp of approval. Mm-hmm. It's got to start somewhere. Getting back to sports has got to start somewhere. And if it's something that's completely contained, things that say completely in-house, and it might as well be professional wrestling. Up until this point, they had moved all their shows, whether live or pre-recorded as well, to their training facility in Florida. They've got a big old facility down there. They've got plenty of stages. They've got plenty of, areas that they can do all this work, top-notch training facilities and everything with that. But it's got to start somewhere. And if they are deemed the essential business, then that could lead to, like you said, maybe baseball gets going, maybe professional golf as well. I mean, we're still waiting to hear in Minnesota if we're going to even have golf courses open here in the next couple of weeks. And, the way the weather's been going, it may take a little bit, but, as long as we can get those golf courses opening and ready, that would be fantastic to see. But it's got to start somewhere. I think it's approved in my mind of getting it started. It might as well be something that, you got to start somewhere, start small, and then start working your way because, of course, they have been testing. They have been, making sure that they're not even allowing talent from overseas. They're a big overseas company as well.
Yeah, they are.
Is the WWE. They've got, NXT UK that hasn't done a whole lot, and they've got a lot of, wrestlers and athletes that come from Europe and other countries as well. They haven't even been allowed in the United States. They've just stuck strictly if you live in the United States right now, you are going to be working, and, they've kind of limited their roster. Of course, that did lead to the huge amount of releases that they did let go, even as of today. And there's some big talent out there, but that's just going to provide more opportunity for other companies to swoop them up as well. And I thought one very interesting release was referee Mike Chioda. He's been with the company for 20 years. Gone like that. It's amazing to see, but at the end of the day, it's a business. But when you look at it as a whole, it's got to start somewhere. It's got my stamp of approval.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, they could come back. It's not like Kurt Angle's just going to be like, "Oh, see ya."
Oh no, he's going to be busy. Yeah. He's going to be busy.
He'll be busy. So, all right, last one, Voldy.
All right, we got one here going back to college sports, as the University of Cincinnati announced on Tuesday that due to profound challenges and widespread uncertainty when it comes to not only for college sports but the coronavirus pandemic, they had discontinued their men's soccer program. Now, this is the first of a few program cuts that have not only happened at Cincinnati but also other establishments as well. I believe it was Old Dominion a few weeks ago discontinued their wrestling program. And there's actually been some movement when it comes to some of the mid-major colleges and conferences as well. They've been sending letters to the NCAA saying, hey, we need help here. We don't know if we're going to have sports coming up here in the fall and even into, the next few months. And there's a lot riding on this as well. But, this was just kind of the jumping off point to say, Cincinnati's been competing since 1973 in men's college soccer and everything that goes along with it. Of course, they had a down couple of years. It's very interesting to see from the program itself, but also from college sports. There's been a lot of losses taken. Of course, we can go back to the March Madness tournaments for men's and women's basketball being canceled, conference tournaments being canceled, College World Series is most definitely out the door, College Softball World Series out the door as well, and anything leading up to college football in the fall. Who knows if we're going to have college football in the fall? High school, college, anything. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone, 4 or 5 months down the road when it's going to start to matter. But looking at it overall, when you start to see colleges cutting programs and, kind of, quote unquote, planning for the future with whatever future that's going to be, is it absurd or approved?
It's a tough hill to climb with what's been happening. And Cincinnati is doing whatever they can to figure out what the heck to do. I mean, I'm looking at this right now. According to the 2019 financial report for Cincinnati, they spent about $68.8 million on athletics. About 43% of that money came from direct institutional support. So, I mean, again, the money aspect is into this too, and it stinks for the guys that are in the program that have worked their tails off to, play. And you feel bad for those guys. And, they've been competing since 1973, like you were talking about. And, it's uncertainty because, with this pandemic, could they come back? I don't know. But as of right now, it's what they have to do. So, I mean, it's got my stamp of approval that they're taking precaution and saying, okay, we got to let this go because we're going to lose a big chunk here, And we all have to understand, too, that, it's nothing personal. It's just business because, the economy right now hasn't been great. I'm no expert on that. But, again, it was they said it's a difficult decision, and they're looking at their long-term interests. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of positive that has come out when it comes to college or professional sports with the whole coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, with the whole pandemic. But as soon as you start to see colleges start cutting some of these programs, it's not a good sight. It's not a good way of the future because when you start coming back and maybe starts getting some sort of semblance of what the future is going to look like as we start to learn more about the coronavirus, or even learn more about, what we can do to combat it, and maybe even a vaccine. Who knows? You hate to see, especially a whole bunch of these athletes that may have been coming into next year that were going to play for the men's soccer program in Cincinnati, or, players that were going into their senior year, or the seniors as well, that had that chance to make a difference in the fall or even into the next season. And the university makes the cut, and, that's what you have to live with. I think, there's no real way to explain it other than the fact that, it's a little absurd, but you have to play for the future of it being the fact you don't know if sports is going to be happening coming in, the fall. When students start coming in, if they allow students back on campus, if it's going to go back to, all online teaching, and if it's going to be things of that sort, you don't know. And the university, of course, is about, higher education, but also at the same time, there has to be something behind it of financial and monetary value to keep these programs and also keep the university going at the same time.
Right, and like we've been saying too, it depends on where you're at. And if you're in New York, it's definitely going to take a lot of time before they're back to normal. But I don't know what the numbers are in Cincinnati, but or Ohio for that matter too. So again, it's kind of a wait and see, to be determined. So that's kind of how we look at it, but we'll see what happens. We keep saying that, and that's all we can say at this point. So.
Yep.
Anyway, we got to move on to Shield shoutouts. We're going to start off Shield shoutouts on it's a little sadder note as we start Shield shoutouts, but we got some good stuff with Shield shoutouts too. So there's some things that we have to address, But anyway, it's time for Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who are you shouting out?
All right. Well, Matt, you did kind of allude to it. A little bit of a somber start to Shield shoutouts this week. We did learn early this week, especially Monday and even yesterday as well. We do have to send our thoughtful wishes, condolences, and prayers to the Jackson family. Former Minnesota Vikings and Seattle Seahawks quarterback Tavares Jackson passed away this week on Sunday in a car accident, in a car crash in Alabama. He was with the Vikings for his first 6 years in the NFL. Of course, led the Vikings to the 2008 NFC North title and was the backup to Russell Wilson for Super Bowl 48, and also saw significant playing time. Holds a distinct record for being one of the few backup quarterbacks, if not the only backup quarterback to see significant playing time in a Super Bowl, which was a complete blowout by the Seattle Seahawks against the Denver Broncos back then. But we do send a heavenly Shield shout out to Tavares Jackson. Of course, may have not been the player that the Vikings wanted to draft, but he was the catalyst for a lot of good teams, a lot of good years with the Vikings. He was the man handing off the football to Adrian Peterson for a couple years, and boy, those were some prime years with AP. And it's sad to say that it's all going to be a thing of the past nowadays.
Right.
But also we do send another Shield shout-out and our thoughts, condolences, and prayers to the Towns family. Mother of Timberwolves player Karl Anthony Towns, Jacqueline Cruz Towns, passed away on Monday due to COVID-19 related complications. And, Karl Anthony Towns had posted on his Instagram, a few weeks ago, talking about how his mother was in a medically induced coma, talking about the seriousness of COVID-19. And this is just another factor and another byproduct of what COVID-19 is not done to not only for the fact of the world of sports, but the world itself.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of thousands of people that have passed away across the entire world. If you're not taking it seriously at this point, you need to reevaluate yourself and take a little bit more seriousness. Of course, we're all hunkered down, the stay-at-home orders, essential businesses, and everything related to that. Take this seriously, take the precautions, and, just pay attention. But we do send our thoughts, prayers, and condolences to the town's family during this troubling time.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to try and, end this show here on a bit of a lighter note. We do want to send a Shield shout-out and a very happy birthday to one half of Double Trouble, Kristen Weber, celebrating a birthday today. Yes, claps all around for one half of Double Trouble. Who knows? Maybe we could get something lined up here in the very near future to get Double Trouble back on for the zone.
Yes, I might have an update with that later on here.
We'll have to talk about that here a little bit later. Keep going here with Shield shout-outs. Do have to send a Shield shout-out to my little cousin, Dylan Roofnack, who graduated from basic training in the Navy. Congratulations to Dylan. He is going to be off to, I believe it's Mississippi. I got a call from my grandpa late last week talking about, once he's graduated from the Navy, from basic training, he's going to be off to radar school. He's going to be going to Mississippi, and I think he is going to be then heading off to, I believe, South Korea is where he'll be going from there as well. But a Shield shout-out to my cousin for graduating basic training in the Navy. Another Shield shout-out goes out to former WNBA player Tamara Moore, who's going to be the next head basketball coach at Mesabi Range Community College up in Virginia, Minnesota. Now, she's going to be, as it currently stands, the first and only known woman to hold a head coaching role for a men's basketball team at any level. She left her position as head coach at Edison High School down in the Twin Cities. And, this is not the first time that Moore has broken any sorts of records. Back in her high school playing days, she was the first girl to play in the all-star basketball game in the metro area. Before there was a girls' game, she was playing with all boys, and she's played professionally, with the men. She's owned a men's basketball team as well professionally. So this is going to be something quite to see now at the coaching level for Tamara Moore to be a college men's basketball coach. Going to be quite interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
It's going to be great.
We do have to send a couple Shield shout-outs to a couple recently retired baseball players. 2018 World Series MVP, journeyman first baseman Steve Pearce announced his retirement on Monday. Played for 7 teams, but was a key piece of the 2018 Boston Red Sox World Championship team, including solidifying a World Series MVP award in Game 6, where he finished with a couple of home runs and ended up being a big factor in that World Series. Happy retirement, and a Shield shout-out to Steve Pearce. Well, we do have to send one more Shield shout-out to former MLB slugger and strikeout king Mark Reynolds. Hanging them up. Finishes his career, of course, most recently with the Colorado Rockies in his third stint. 298 career home runs, 871 RBIs, 1,927 career strikeouts. Now, if you're a pitcher, that's pretty good. But he's a first baseman, he's an corner infielder guy. He did lead from 2008 to 2011 in strikeouts, including a record 223 times in 2009. But I'm sure a lot of ex-players, ex-fans are saying, happy retirement, so long, Mark Reynolds. That's it for Shield shout-outs this week.
Very nice, Shield. Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
But, yeah, I mean, the one half of Double Trouble, her birthday.
Yeah.
We've been in talks. This might happen soon. Just want to tell the zoners that this might happen. But one more thing I got to bring up here, too. First of all, we have a lot of people that have been selling jerseys. Thank you, Nick. We appreciate it. Jimbo's selling jerseys. He's great support. One of our, our favorite zoner. I mean, it really
Absolutely.
is. Jimbo has just been fantastic. Given these selling out jerseys, I'm sure he's got more. I'm not sure, but I haven't heard much update on it. But and another thing too, we got to throw a guy that I know very well. He is a former UND linebacker, and he also went to training camp with the Atlanta Falcons, Voldy, as well, and he went to my high school, St. Thomas Academy. Shout out to Will Rattel. He's got a podcast going on. You guys should definitely check it out. And he loves the show. Oh, Jimbo's got tons more, Voldy. He's got tons.
Yes, sir.
So the unofficial sponsor of MinneZona, exactly. So we got Jimbo here, and then we also have an unofficial sponsor as well with Will Rattel with his podcast. We're going to send out links to his podcast and everything like that, and he's going to share our stuff. He definitely enjoys the show, and we're going to have him on too. I mean, Will Rattel, like him a lot, and from UND too, Voldy.
Absolutely, I love it. Got to have that UND connection.
You got to. So anyway, great job tonight, Voldy. It was another great show. Great job to the Kerf Doctor as well. We got 3 people here. We got me, we had Mikey, we had you. The Skype feed was kind to us. So, hey, more guests to come.
Please, let's do it.
I think so. So Voldy will have a New Jersey next week. Maddie Sewell, and it's going to be a surprise. So it's going to be fun. We'll have a fun show. So anyway, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.